That's what it's all about. You love how that began and ended with someone whose life is changing right there. Did you see that? So good, so good. Welcome back. If you are new and you walked in, you're like, what have I walked into? I thought I was going to church. It's like a girl rally up in here. We support women. Pastor Tim will be back next week. So this is not a normal Sunday. We just returned from our annual women's conference, and we have a lot to celebrate today. So today will be a bit of a recap, but also it will. If you didn't go and you're a guy or you're a woman like I didn't get to go, I promise you're going to get something out of today. So I want to share with you a little bit of what God did with us this weekend, but also share with you some truths from His Word that I know will impact you if you let it. So did anybody else come home and you think like, oh, I did not return to the home that I left? Like maybe things were in disarray or there were I got a couple pictures of piles of laundry, like almost left waiting for you when you come home. Isn't it fun being a woman? There might be some dudes in here that do laundry. Who does laundry that's a dude? Or like, excuse me. There you go. Let's give it up for the dudes that do laundry. Yeah. That's the hard stuff of life right there. Talk about walking through some fire. At some point in my married life in the last 24 years, probably around year 12, so halfway, I was like, you know what? If I should just embrace laundry in my life, I'm going to put this on a plaque. I'm going to put it out at Hobby Lobby so everybody can buy it. Embrace laundry. It's there every day. It just, until you die, it's there, right? And let me give you a little pro tip, young moms. If you just do one load a day, you always stay ahead. You're welcome. I hate the 12 piles of laundry staring at me when we forget for like a week and people are looking for underwear and they just go with something dirty because that's all they got. So you just got to embrace it. That is not I don't even have any notes. I'm just off the cuff. Look out, Sunday Fun Day is coming back. So for the most part, my guys do a great job. The house was clean, the dishes were clean, everything was great. But Silas last night, he had a performance at school. A Trent Theater Department had their 10 ways to survive the zombie apocalypse, in case you needed to know that. That was I'm like, I had to go. I got 2 hours to get in the shower and get to a zombie apocalypse thing. I got to go. So we go, we're going to eat dinner, and he's like, we get back home, and I'm like, hey, this is what I found. There was like the basket of cleaning supplies that sits under our kitchen sink. It was like in the kitchen floor, just out in the middle by itself. I'm like, hey, what's the deal with the basket in the floor? He's like, oh, you haven't heard that story yet? Dad didn't tell you? I'm like, no. He's like, well, sit a spell. Do I have a tale for you? This theater kid, in full production. He's like, here's what happened. So I'm at school Tuesday. I'm putting my lunch tray up because lunch is over. Throw it away. I have my phone in the same hand as my tray. You know how this goes. Throw it all away. Phone goes in the trash unknowingly, right? Unknowingly. Middle school lunch hour, phone in the trash can. Probably multiple. He's like, I go on to class, and I realize when I get there, I don't have my phone. I must have left it in the cafeteria. So he goes back. He can't find it anywhere. He's looking in the hallways where he sat, retracing his steps. He goes, but I did not look in the trash can. And there, I should have. So he goes about his day, and he's like, I know that I have to face Dad at the end of the day, so I have to, figure this out in the next 3 hours before I have to see this man and face him and tell him I'm pretty sure I threw my phone away, but I don't know, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure. So he decides that when Dad picks him up, because Dad's on carpool duty this week, Mom's gone, that he's just going to have him, really zoom in on the Life 360 app to see where in the school his phone is, and then he'll just run back in and get it. This is a great plan. Really, kind of genius. I haven't found Life 360 to be that accurate, but why not go for it? So he tells Tim this plan. I said, was Dad mad? He's like, he was just staring at me like he was processing the information. That's exactly, like he was processing what I was trying to say. So they do this, and they're not sure if Life 360 is right or not, but it's telling them that the phone is not in the school, but it's outside the school, like right there in the dumpster area, right? The dumpster's out behind. So Tim, this is a classic Bourne moment in true Tim fashion, drives that kid around to the dumpsters, and he's like, well, get in and find it. dumpsters. I'm like, okay, when does the cleaning basket come in? Is he still going? He's like, so I jump in, and Dad starts calling, and I can hear it like bzz, bzz, bzz. So he just keeps calling it, and he's digging through in the dumpster until he finds the bag that is vibrating, and he pulls it out. He's like, I got it. Throws it out, rips it open, digs through, finds his phone, dripping with applesauce and pizza sauce and pepperonis. And then Tim, this is where the cleaning supplies come in. Get in the truck, probably stuck that kid in the back like, oh, you ain't getting in my truck. Oh, heck no. Because you know he has a reek at this point. Gets him home, what is it, more than 2 miles, because in Frisco, if you are more than 2 miles from the school, you don't get bus service. Anybody know that? Where it must be more than 2 miles, so he goes home. And then he's like, dude, you stink. Take that shirt off, whatever. And so I guess Tim gets all the cleaning supplies out. They're going to clean the phone. And instead of washing the shirt, he just throws it away. He's like, this is punishment. You don't get that shirt anymore. Done. Gone. So this is how you handle things when mom is gone. We don't wash those things. We just trash them. It was a shirt from Target. You'll be fine. Consider it your punishment. So don't you just love those stories that come out when mom is gone and somehow the fort is held down and the house is standing? Gotta love a classic Bourne moment this week. So I want to give you a little recap, as I said, about what we did at retreat and take you through just a snack of what we covered. And maybe, just maybe, doesn't matter how old you are in here, you will find something that sticks out to you. You will find something that God can apply to your life. So let's go to Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2. This is really our theme verse for the weekend. It says, when you pass through the waters, I'll be with you. Through the rivers, they won't overflow you. When you walk through the fire, you won't be burned, and the flames will not scorch you. Now look at that. So the two things you need to notice, look at the two elements here that we all face, water and fire. And it doesn't say those things will just come into your life. It says you will pass through them both. So there is movement happening. You are passing through the storm. You are passing through the water. You are passing through a fire. And look at, He's going to be with you, and you're going to make it on the other side. You're going to survive being burned. I will spare you from my MC Hammer dance. Can't touch this. I'm like, you're a fire walker. You can't touch me. I can walk through fire and I will not be burned. That's amazing. You should feel like, it's like, this is basically like right after you've had COVID and you're like, I am invincible. I have all the antibodies. Did anybody else feel like that? You're just walking around free without your mask last year, like, oh, that's okay, I had it. I don't even need nothing. This is amazing. That's exactly how you can walk in this life. You already have it. The moment that God redeems you, you can walk through water, you can walk through fire, you will make it on the other side, you will not be burned. That's a quick summary of Thursday night. Now we're done. Kidding. Jesus on a boat with his disciples. Let's talk about the water for a minute. I think it's in Mark chapter 4. They're going to put the passage up there. A storm comes up. They're freaking out. And a storm in life can look like lots of different things, right? It can look like you lost your job or a career change. If you like to know what's expected, that kind of stuff just freaks you out. It may be your spouse. Something's happening and there's a disconnect that you can't put your finger on and you don't know what the answer is. Your kids, there's anxiety and you're trying to help them and you're awake at night and you're trying to figure it out. They seem to be wandering away from what you've taught them and you're not sure how to get them back. Maybe it's that someone has betrayed you or hurt you and there are scars on your heart. Maybe when you were a young kid, you suffered trauma that sticks with you to this day. Whatever your water or fire is, they can come up quickly, then they can stay with you. But in Mark chapter 4, a fierce storm came out. High waves were breaking into the boat. Remember what Isaiah says, it won't overflow you. But here they are coming into the boat, filling with water, and they're freaking out. And you know what? Jesus is with them because they were doing ministry on one side of this lake, and then they were going to do ministry on the other side for the next day, and he was taking a nap. He's tired. It's exhausting. Peopling is exhausting. There, you can put it on a T-shirt. There you go. Jesus himself thought so. Look at this. He put his head on a cushion. Don't you love the details the Bible gives? It wasn't like, and Jesus rested his eyes for a moment. No, it's like Jesus is asleep at the back of the boat on a cushion. Like, was it the new line from Target? Like, what was it? I just want to know these things. And they start yelling at him, don't you care? Hey, wake up. There's a storm. You ever been around somebody that's like not cluing into what's happening around them, and you just want to hit them upside the head or on the shoulder, and you're like, wake up, don't you see what's going on here? And that's what they're doing. Don't you care that we're about to die? This is what I imagine. Sleepy Jesus wakes up. He's like, geez, guys. He can say that because it's his name. Jeez. Right? He's like, okay, stop. Waves, just stop. Stop. He rebukes them like, oh my gosh, you waves, calm down. And they stop. That's as easy as it was. That's exactly what he does for your life. When you are freaking out and it seems as if you're taking on water and it's going to overwhelm you, it's going to overcome, it's going to be over your head, and maybe you can't swim and you're doggy paddling and you're running out of energy, and then soon it's up to your nose and you can't keep your head above the water. And he's like, hey, just calm down. He tells everything around you to be still. That's what it's like to walk with God through the waters that seem overwhelming. The fire that this verse refers to is really the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego back in Daniel chapter 3, who were Daniel's three best friends. If you don't know the story or you don't know the whole story of Daniel, you should read the entire book. It's pretty short. It's only a few chapters, but it's an incredible story of three guys, really four with Daniel, who had decided they were taking a stand for God. This crazy king was trying to put conditions upon them that would really define their lives. Like, here, you have to worship this idol, this stupid, ridiculous law that he passed. Can you imagine government officials passing ridiculous laws? Huh. Who knew? So they're trying to get around this crazy king, and they've got to take this stand, or that's it, right? I mean, this is your moment. Don't you feel like we train for this our whole lives? Like, come at me, world. I got you, God. Like, this is their moment. And they won't bow down. And they're like, no, we're not going to do it. So the king had kind of liked these guys at first. Like, they were like these new young guys, like the little whippersnappers, up and coming, leaders and good looking and athletic. It literally describes them this way. And then it says he got mad. I'm sick of having the same conversation with you over and over. So look what he says. The king gets really angry, furious at Rack, Shack, and Benny. We're going to call him that. It's like VeggieTales. And his attitude toward them changed. Woo! He ordered the furnace, which was the preferred method of assassination, heated 7 times hotter than usual. So just leave it right there for a minute. Think about like a wood-burning stove that they cook those pizzas in that are so delicious. You're welcome right before lunch. Doesn't that sound good? Wood-fired pizza. But times like 1,000,000, human size, that one would be tossed into because they're not following the laws that have been set forth in the land. So now he's mad, and he's like, just turn it up 7 times. That way I know they're going to die. There's no question that I have all the power and they have none. And if anyone else tries to defy me, this is what's going to happen to them. That's the reason he did that. And there's all kinds of details listed. It says he called the most strong men in his army, like the super soldiers, the winter soldiers, the whole team of the elite, to handle them, to bind them up and toss them in. So they do. And when that door opens to the furnace, like this, it's got to be this heavy door that's been created, that's been built, constructed just for this purpose. When they crack that thing open and they start to toss them in, the super soldiers, because of the heat and the flames that are coming out of it, kill the super soldiers. They fall dead. Don't you just love that? God is like, aren't just your super soldiers so cute? I'm not scared of you. No, I'm not. Get out of here. They fall dead. What? The guys have still been tossed. They were like, maybe we have a chance. Oh, no, we don't. We're in the fire. So they got tossed in. And now what's happening is they're in, and there's a gallery. It's like they have constructed a viewing room. This is kind of sick, to watch this all take place. So there is a gallery. The king and his officials, they're watching, waiting for their death in the middle of that furnace and that fire. And the king, it doesn't take long, because, they got tossed in that room, and over in the corner, what they didn't know was like, Jesus, just like, how much longer is this going to take? What are we doing here? Waiting. Oh, here they come. Okay, they're in here. Okay. Hey, guys, chill. It's all good. Yeah, here. He probably snapped his fingers. Everything falls off. And he's like, it's all good. I'm here with you. Don't be scared. I know it's hot. We're going to turn the air on in just a second. Just give it a few more seconds. The humans over there need to figure out what's going on. Let me have a moment. Okay, he's clued in. It says the king, put the verse up there. He says, the king's like, hey, didn't we put 3 guys in there? They're like, yeah, those 3 guys that were trying to defy you, we throw them in. We bound them up really tight. There's no way they can get out. And he's like, oh, yeah? Well, they're standing up, walking around, unburned and unharmed. And there's 4 in there now. And he looks like, Tim calls him Glow Jesus. This is Glow Jesus. He looks like the Son of God. Look at them walking around in there. Now, let's give God some glory. You guys can't sit. That's amazing. And it wasn't like God had to stop what he was doing somewhere else to send Jesus to go help them. He was just already in the fire waiting for them to arrive at the moment that he was going to get the glory for his deliverance. Yeah? Isn't that what God does for our lives? He's already waiting for you. Because you do have an appointed time to have those moments, to take a stand, to show the power and the glory of God. It's up to you if your life speaks that message. He will use it. He's already waiting. He's just waiting for you to get in there with him. I love that. You'll walk through the water, you'll walk through the fire, and you will not be burned, and I will be with you. So let's move on to verse 18 and 19 of the same chapter. And this is really, the message today is something new. This is really what we got to by the end of retreat. Look at this. Don't think about the past stuff. Forget that stuff. Don't dwell on it. See, I'm doing something new. Don't you see it in verse 19? Do you see it? It's coming. It's on the way. Just look down there. Look. It's coming. Look at your neighbor and say, it's on the way. He's doing something new. Oh, say it again with some passion. Say it loud. There you go. I love the people that are like, I'm an adult. I don't follow instructions like that. I'm not going to tell my neighbor that. Thank you so much. Let's move along. Jessie's like that. Where's she at? Is she in here? She's like, I don't like when people tell me what to do from the stage. Anyway. I'm doing something new. Something new means something new. It's not what you thought it was before. It's not like anything you've expected because you haven't experienced it yet. Right? Sometimes I think the greatest barrier to being a believer is expecting God to do exactly what he did yesterday. But he's always outdoing himself. He's always doing something new. So let's look at verse 18 again. I brought my blanket from home. This is literally my blanket. Silas, can you testify? This is my blanket for my bed. Yes. Also, you want to know another pro tip, life pro tip? Life Hacks by Carrie Bourne. If you have a spouse who pulls the covers off of you, anyone? Or you're the cover puller, anybody? Get yourself 2 blankets. You have your own, they have their own, then you don't have to worry about it. That's what we did. So in this verse, this is my pillow for my bed. I will wash it later. Don't be like all freaked out. Like she's putting her pillow on a nasty stage. I understand. But you know, when we dwell on something, we make it our home. It's a dwelling, right? And so really in life, what we want to do is just lay down and get comfortable and just like pull it way up. Like this blanket is so comfy because it's so old and I've washed it so many times and it smells so good with a fabric softener on it. And it's just my home. It's my happy place. My favorite part of the day is getting in the bed at night. Does anybody else agree with me on that? I'm always like, oh, finally. So great. It's so easy to just dwell in my comfortable blanket and just stay right here. This blanket is a lot like our past. It really does define who we are. It's comfortable. It's easier to just be wrapped up in it and make this our home. And then when alarm goes off and we do have to get up, we might get up. I'm like, oh, well, I got to go, but you can come with me, blanket. Because I'm going to go get the kids up and get them ready for school and bake the toast. I don't know. Who in here makes super healthy breakfast at the beginning of school? Then by about November, it's Pop-Tarts. Maybe even the like Pop-Tarts that are the little bites that you don't even put in the toaster. You don't even bother with that. I mean, no way. Hershey syrup in a glass, sure, I don't care. But you do have your blanket on, and then you have to drive them in the carpool, or you walk outside and get them on the bus, whatever you're there. They get on their bike, but, you're there waving like, bye, have a great day. I have my comfy blanket on. I'm going to go in and finish getting ready for work. I'm going to in the car, and I'm going to drive on the tollway, the wonderful, wonderful tollway down to my office. And then I'm going to, I should stop and get a Starbucks. Let me order this on the app while I'm sitting in traffic. It's fine. I could be on my phone and drive at the same time. Probably not a good life strategy, right? But you wait at Starbucks. You've got your blanket. You walk in. Everyone's around you. You're waiting. You put your order in, but you're waiting 20 more minutes. Now you just welcome Starbucks into this bitter world you got going on with your blanket. You take them with you now too. Like you created the app for a reason. Can we stay ahead of it? Anyway, all the baristas in the house are like, calm down. Then you go to work, you endure that whole thing. Get home, you go to a soccer game, you go to practice, you get them home, you make dinner, and then you get to lay down. And now it's like acceptable because it's time for bed. So now it's like nobody is going to ask me any questions or wonder why I'm cloaked in this, because now it's acceptable for me to be sitting here and laying here, and I don't have to deal with anybody anymore. I like it. I like to dwell in it. It's comfortable. It's harder to deal with my pain than it is to just stay wrapped up in it. It is, isn't it? And this verse is addressing that very thing. See, Isaiah, the author of this book, is really trying to warn God's people to put down everything they are doing that is creating barriers between them and God. He's reminding them who God is and what He's done. He's already taken you through waters. He's already proved Himself in the fire. He doesn't want you to keep thinking about that. He's got so much more for you out there than He does back that way. So He's like, forget that stuff and put it down. Stop dwelling in the things that you think define you, because they don't. They're not who you are. They're just what you've been delivered from. That's what they are. So you might have your comfies with you. They might be in a basket of your life, and they're kind of beside you. They're with you. They're available at any time that you'd like to use them, but you don't have to choose to let that be the thing that's covering you, weighing you down as you walk everywhere you go in life. He's doing something new. Do you not perceive it? That's His question. How do you not see it? It's in red flashing lights right there. But you can't see it because you are so comfortable in your pain. This weekend, we saw so many testimonies and stories of God doing that for people. And I want to share just a few with you today. I probably don't have all these details right, and they're not comprehensive. I'm sure there's more. I did get a few little nuggets in between service that people came and said, "Oh, you got to say this. You got to tell them this part. I don't think you knew about this part." So I want to tell you a few things, because this is real stuff. This is not. These are not like crazy Jesus freak people or opportunities that we have that come along, and we're just telling you what the Bible says. We're telling you what God's doing actively in people's lives. So this is the first couple of girls I want to tell you about is Chelsea and Shannon. Chelsea's been at GM for several years, and yeah, come on. At Genesis Metro, we have a tradition at our men's conference and our women's conferences every year that we take a few minutes and we create these crosses for every team, and you can choose to carry the cross for as long as you'd like, to feel the weight of just a little bit of what Jesus carried for us. So this moment, that part was done, and Chelsea spent some time just praying for a long time there on the ground, and several of us would go and pray for her and pray with her. And what you don't know is that Chelsea last year, while she was at Sisterhood retreat, her sister unexpectedly passed away. So she has been dreading the weekend of the 1-year anniversary, because that is a very difficult day to face. If you've lost someone, you know exactly what that's like. The whole first year is like, we just have to get through the first Christmas, the first birthday, the first this, the first that, and of course the first anniversary. And then you feel like maybe you can breathe again on the other side of that. And so Chelsea was coming at retreat with this great dread and wrestling within herself, wanting to be excited, but she wasn't. It was hard. You know, she came to me Friday night, and we prayed together here at this cross, she and I happened to see her, so I was able to be in some of those moments with her. And I'm not always able to be in all the moments, but I felt blessed that I was able to pray with my sister there because I knew what was happening. And, you know, after worship that night and after God continued to speak throughout the day, she came over with this big smile on her face, and she said, I just let it all go. He's redeemed it all. I'll be okay tomorrow when the 1 year gets here. That's what God can do for you. And then Shannon, also, you'll see this picture of her, the moment that she came up out of the water baptized. Shannon also dealing with grief, having lost her mom several months ago. She was the primary caretaker. Anyone who's walked through that knows. So Chelsea had no idea what was coming when her sister passed. Shannon was preparing for it for months. I don't know which one is worse. Have you been through either one? I have been through a few of those. I don't know which is worse. Shannon preparing and caring for her mom. And she said, you know, last year I was praying for patience to be able to care for her because it was hard. This year I would give anything to be praying that. Now, what I didn't know until in between services was she had found her mom's Bible a few weeks ago. And she called her life group leader, Katie, and said, what is the theme verse for retreat? Is there a theme verse? Katie said, I don't know. I've seen Isaiah 43 here and there. She said, that verse is highlighted in my mom's Bible. Whoa! Only God can do that stuff, right? Like, nobody orchestrated that. That's God giving you a direct message that you can do this. You can walk through grief, and you can come out on the other side, honey. You can. And anyone that needs to hear that needs to know that God is with you. The next picture I have, let's put that one up. This is mothers and daughters. Come on. So good. There's a few of these. You can keep these rolling. Well, first, let's just stay on these. Go back. Sorry, I know. I said two things at once. Follow me along. It's dizzying, I understand. This is the Wilsons, and what was great about this that I learned in between services was they were both on different teams carrying their crosses, and somebody said, oh, she's right beside you. Your daughter's right beside you. And these are heavy. They're not impossible, but they're not light. They're heavy. They were probably, 130 pounds or something. I think Ben told me they constructed these, and the mom kept saying, is she still going? Is she still going? And they're like, yes, she's still going. So as long as the daughter walked, the mom walked all the way down the field. That's how you pour into your kids right there. The next mothers and daughters you see are this family. Look at this. She saw her mom carrying the cross and ran and left her group to go over and walk with her mom as she carried this and felt that weight. Move on to the next one of them. A close-up. And God's just working in that moment. God's just working in that moment. The next one is a family who their daughter was invited to Fuse and got saved and baptized this last year, and then invited her parents. And there's her mom in the Gap sweatshirt, Linda. And look at Angela back there on the back row. She's like at a rock concert. Yeah. I was like trying to find these pictures. I'm zooming to look at Angela. I'm going to make a GIF or something out of that. She got saved, baptized, and was the team champion this weekend. Because her daughter found hope on a Wednesday night at a student service and knew that her parents needed it. That's what it's all about right there. That's what it's all about. And then the last story I want to share with you is this. There's a great worship shot. Isn't that awesome? I love those. It gives me chills every time. And the lady, the back of the head that you see there her name's Linda Asher. Miss Linda, she's right over here. She doesn't know I'm sharing this. I probably should have asked. Here we go. I got to sit by Tom and told him in the back real quick, and Alex knows, of course. If you don't know Linda and Tom, you should. Make an effort to get to know them. Incredible people who have poured into Tim and I for the last 10 years. You know, we don't talk every day. We've never even been in a life group together, really. But when we need encouragement, they seem to always have the right word at the right time. When I need a hug, I got one. When I need somebody to say, hey, how you doing? And they already see it. They already know the answer. There they are. And so what's happened in this family is like generational greatness, let me tell you right now. And I want to share that with you. So Linda and Tom came to GM about 10 years ago, I think. And a couple of years after that, their daughter Emily started coming. And she had a little baby boy named Liam. I think he's here. He's right behind Kurt, who's the tallest man in this room. Can't see around him. Little baby Liam. And Tom and Linda would say, can you pray for our son-in-law? Because he doesn't know Jesus. And we really, really want that for their family. And Emily came for years without her husband. We're all praying for him here and there. And I would, is there any update? How's he doing? And, oh, God's working on him. I was working on him. And then Emily told me the story this weekend, because now we all know each other real well. And she said, he came because we got in a fight about gummy bears. Don't you love that? How random the fights you get in as married couples, right? And then you're in a knockdown, drag out, all out, like I'm about to throw this burger across the room, and you don't remember why you started fighting in the first place. But you've emotionally committed, so we're in it. Anybody? I just died laughing. So she said he apologizes. It's like a Saturday, and he's like, I'm sorry. What time are you going to go to church in the morning? She's like, the same time I go every week, fool. It's the same time. I wasn't ready to forgive him yet. It's real life, right? I know I've been praying for you for years to know Jesus, but my car leaves when my car leaves. You're either in it or you get left. She's got a little edgy sassiness to her, Emily. So I can just imagine this going down. And he comes to church with her, and then he comes again and again. She said about the second or third time, he was like, that bass player could be better. She's like, well, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you go tell him you could play bass? Because he's in a band. He's a musician. So he does. He gets plugged in. He starts to play bass. That's kind of how it works around here. Like, hey, I have a guitar at home. That was Tommy, who shreds it every week. Oh, I have a guitar. Maybe I could play. Freaking came up here and killed it. As did Alex, who I'm talking about. Let's put Alex up there. That's him in the middle in the little cute hat. That's our bass player killing it. Oh, come on. The band is in the back like, woo. I heard them over your clapping. Let's show the pictures of Emily and the boys so you can see this. Now, this is Jack. Stay right there for a second. This one came along later after Liam. He is appropriately named Jack. Like the Incredibles boy that just lights into a fire. He's just literally zipping all over the place all the time. They just all fall out in bed at night because they're exhausted. Liam, too. He's just like the big brother, like, oh, let's get Liam up there in the zone. Look at that joy on his face. So good, right? You could pick the picture of Linda back up from retreat this year. Oh, no, let's see that one. I forgot. I don't have my notes in front of me. I was like, I'm going freestyle. Look at this. Daughter carrying Emily, mom in the back, just there to gently support. Everybody wishes they could have that. Let's give it up for the Bradburys and the Ashers. Now, what I want you to know about this story is this. This year, in the last several months, Tom was diagnosed with cancer. And not only just cancer, but the rarest form of cancer out there, really. A throat cancer I don't even know. I can't say the name of it. I'm sure they could. I don't even know it. But none have survived ever being diagnosed with this cancer. Only 6 people in the state of Texas have ever even been diagnosed with it, and none of them made it. Tom is 6, I believe, right? So I'm going to get some details wrong, but that's about right. And so his doctors, his case caught the attention of MD Anderson, and together with his doctors, they created this experimental treatment plan. And they were like, look, it's bleak, because he's a shoot 'em, just shoot me straight. Who's like that? Just tell me, just rip the Band-Aid off and tell me. They're like, it's not likely, but it might work. But you're going to want to die before it's over. It's going to be like walking through hell. If you want to try it, this is what we can do. So listen, you ain't going to get Tom down. He's an old partier from the 70s. He's like, I will make it through this. So he does it. Chemo, radiation. Just imagine this being connected to and focused on your throat. It fries his mouth. So salivary glands don't work. Of course, taste buds don't work. Everything is just fried. He says if he tries to eat, because, I'm like, can I make you cookies? Can I make you dinner? And they're like, no, he's not eating. He can't eat anything. Feeding tube. Everything that's any kind of bread at all just turns to paste in his mouth because there's no salivary glands to produce to help the body function correctly. So he can't really eat. So throughout this process, then they get all the way through treatment and they get it. If they're like, we've tested, we got it. And the next week they're like, now listen, if you want to be really safe, you could do another round of radiation to make sure it never comes back. Like this is your best chance. Or you can just choose to risk it. Well, if you know Tom, he's like, let's do it. I didn't come this far to maybe get it next year again. I'd rather just get this over with. His body is already ravaged. If you've been through cancer with your family, you know exactly what this is like. But you know what? Obviously, he survived. He's done. He's here today. I love it. And I want to tell you why I believe that he's here today. Obviously, God is not done with him. Tom and Linda live every single day like they're on an assignment from God. We were talking about this backstage. I said, I've never known anybody like them. He literally walk out their door and just wait for God to bring them opportunities to help people. If you are falling on hard times, you better know Tom and Linda Asher because they will get you out of it. They will figure out a life plan. They will give you some money to get you going. They will find you a job. They will find you an apartment. They will get you a car. I have seen them take in whole families with 4 or 5 children before just to help them get going again. Now, that's amazing. But I believe God has more plans for them. But I want to tell you why they know that God has plans for them. Put the picture up of last year. There's Tom and Linda on the back row worshiping during COVID. Look at that bleak audience. The rest of you were at at home watching. Were you? Like, yes, we were. We were watching. And on this side of the picture is Alex and Emily. Alex that plays bass now, Emily that's here. That is just amazing. Do you know why they can endure any storm or any fire that comes their way? Because they have systems in place that tell them it is so. That's why. We can see that God is working because they know God. They've walked with him. I could get pictures from all the years I've known them of this very position, how they position themselves in front of God, and they see the payoff because he is a man of his word. Our God will do what he says he will do. And I would submit to you, even if Tom had not survived in this life and God had chosen that his journey would end, we would be telling the same story, wouldn't we, Linda? And Tom would never have us say that God didn't deliver because he took him. He would say, and that was it. And God delivered, and he'll keep delivering. So whatever your story is, whatever your end is, when your faith is that rock solid, your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren will come to know the God that you know. That's the God of generations. That's the God who wants to change your family. You walk with your kids, you talk with your kids, you get them to Jesus so they can know his voice. That's the story of the Chan's Linda who, got saved and baptized because her daughter brought her. When your children start giving you God stuff and it starts pouring out of their mouth, you better pay attention. Don't you disregard them because they're young and they don't know what they're talking about. Yes, sometimes our children are closer to the heart of God than we are as adults because we are hardened by life. They already know he gets them through the fire. They walk out every day in a storm. This whole section over here, and there's many throughout the room, Kudos. You know what? Mad respect for what you walk into every day. Unbelievable temptation, unbelievable evil. Let's be the church that partners with them to help them get through it, because we know a God who can do it. Let's give him everything that we have. Would you stand as we pray and worship? God, we thank you for all that you do. We thank you that there is no storm, there is no fire so hot that we will not make it to the other side. We know you can because we've seen it, not only in the word that we read in the Bible, but in all the stories that are in this room, and everybody we know that has lived to tell about it. So God, help us to embrace it. And today, as we focus on you and you only, remind us that we're here to give you everything. In Jesus' name, let's worship.